Well, hello and welcome to the Smells Like Money podcast. Join me, Suzanne Chin Taylor, the DooDoo Diva, as I interview guests who are making an impact on how we manage and operate systems for conveying and treating wastewater. As a veteran of the wastewater, trenchless, and civil infrastructure industry, each week I'll be bringing you industry know-how from industry pros who know how. Join me each week as I speak with representatives of organizations that are utilizing disruptive or new technologies and methods, and executives who are excited to share how to be successful and sustainable in our vital industry. So whether you want to learn about the latest trends in technology, in treatment or trenchless, gain tips on training and retaining great talent, or simply how to be more efficient, productive, or profitable, this podcast is for you. Ready? Let's dive right in. Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode of the DooDoo Diva Smells Like Money podcast. As promised, we are continuing our visit with Eric DuPre, the founder and president of Texas Infragroup. And we're going to continue talking about manhole covers. For those of you who hadn't joined us earlier, you might want to, dial back and hear that, but we'll catch you up a little bit. We are giving some love to the lowly little manhole and the manhole cover, often ignored, but as we all know, it is probably one of the most iconic symbols of our wastewater collection systems. And so today we're going to be speaking about smart city initiatives and all of the things that are involved with data that are happening around the globe and how our manhole covers can actually, because of advancements in technology, Wi-Fi, the cloud, and data, all these things that we hear the buzz about, are now taking a role in helping us manage our cities and our underground utilities much more efficiently and really getting a handle on data. Now, Eric, before we came on the show, we were talking about data, and we collect data from so many different sources for the management. We have asset management, we have CCTV inspection, we have work order management. We've just got all GIS. We've just got a plethora of data that's coming towards us. However, it's almost like there's too much data, and the data is not being used in a way and being combined so that is actually meaningful. This is in your words, meaningful to the mission of maintaining the system and its health, reducing INI, and combating SSOs, and really understanding what's going on in our systems during normal periods, peak periods, but most importantly, during wet weather events, when catastrophic things can happen that can impact our health, impact the cost of running our systems, treatment capacity, getting dinged by the EPA for lots and lots of fines because we're not prepared. And so I want you to share with me this new thing. I was not aware that this was available. We're all familiar with flow monitoring and how that can help us track what's going on in the system in peak events. But I had no idea that now these new composite manhole covers can now be equipped with these really nifty monitoring devices, almost like kind of like a little cell phone with a camera in a measuring device inside the lid of a manhole that can tell you what's going on and send that data up to the cloud. And so it's flow monitoring, or used in conjunction with flow monitoring, but flow monitoring in a different way. So please share with me what this thing does. And I have given you share screen capability. So for those of you who are fortunate enough to be tuning into the episode on YouTube, we're going to actually get to see a tour of the dashboard of this new to data collection software utility to show how this all comes together. So Eric, take it away.
Okay, let me share one of the screens that I've got. What I'd like to do, if you don't mind, I'm going to back up and show you a quick slide of, let's see here. Can you see the picture of the manhole and the SSO discharge?
Sure can.
Okay. So recently I've just got my certification in asset management for water, wastewater. And I got that through it's called BAMI. And BAMI is the Buried Asset Management Institute that's hosted by Purdue University with Dr. Tom Isley. These guys have been doing EPA stuff. He's like, Dr. Tom Isley is kind of like the godfather of trenchless rehab and sewer. And so he's been a mentor of mine for at least a decade over at Louisiana Tech. And he's now
Aren't you blessed?
I used to serve on the industry advisory board for about half a decade. And the amount of information that I absorbed from those professionals in that group on a national and global level was just mind blowing. But the culture that I come from South Louisiana is one of people that are very simplistic. And so we typically take these very complex things and we make them as simple as we can because we want to get results. We want to make it simple and easy for everybody to use and all that. But if you can see the screen, I'm just going to kind of run you through a synopsis of like exactly, sanitary sewer overflow issues. This is the best visual graphic that you can show. I mean, the water is, basically overcapacitated the system. It discharges. It's a big problem with the EPA, the Clean Water Act. It's not a big problem just for the EPA. The reason it's a problem for the EPA is because it's a problem for American citizens and the people that live here, in our environment. This costs us health issues, environmental issues, and financial issues as the taxpayers that have to pay for all this stuff. These are all public sewer systems. So I'm just going to show like the quick graphics. We already discussed this, is that in Texas from 2012 to 2017, we went from a C- to a D. That C- to a D, according to ASCE, that's a multi-million dollar, if not billion-dollar impact just in half a grade, because the size of the problem and the lower the grade is just massive. And so, where you typically want to be, let's just say that you were happy with a B and a C, but to get out of a D and to reach a C or a B, it's going to take priority, it's going to take effort, it's going to take resources, and it's going to take money. Now, you can have all the money in the world that you want, but if you don't have a strategic game plan, then you won't get the results that you want, even if you just throw money at it. We've seen that multiple times. And even, City of Houston has been in their second EPA consent decree. They threw billions of dollars at this in the 90s. And here in 2020, we're back in another EPA consent decree. But I'm just going to go through these slides. And this is stuff that I can provide you, the viewers, anybody that reaches out to me. I'd be more than happy to give this presentation slide to anybody that wants it. But with 127,000 manhole covers in the City of Houston system, and knowing that those manhole covers leak, most of them leak at 45 gallons a minute with the holes in them. If you do the math on that amount of manhole covers that meet that requirement of 4 holes, they're not secured, they don't have any gaskets, the number comes out in a 24-hour rain event to 8.2 billion gallons. Now, that's assuming that all 127 of those leak at a certain nominal rate. But even if they say, Eric, that math is way off. Well, I tell them, okay, well, chop that in half. That's still 4 billion gallons. And they go, well, that math's way off too. Okay, chop it down into 1/4. That's still 2 billion gallons. So the numbers are astronomical, but it takes the city doing a true condition assessment evaluation to know with the topo map, hydrology, and knowing what's the current condition of their manhole covers. And if their current condition of their manhole covers meets that particular scenario, you just do the quantitative math across the board, and it'll tell you how much inflow is coming into the system. This is a very powerful graphic right here because this shows a rain event whenever we get flooding. And like what me and you talked about visually is that when you see water standing like that, that's no longer just water. That's now a mixture of billions of gallons of untreated discharge sewer in your living environment. And as the water subsides and goes away, but guess what? The solids material that was untreated, that's all contaminated in your living environment. And we go through this season after season after season. And that's why this visual graphic, when I talk about it verbally, but now you can see just that's just a small neighborhood. That's not even, that doesn't even cover like 1/1000th of the city of Houston, that little tiny picture that you see right there. That's maybe 300 houses, maybe. So we've done the testing. We've built all the devices. We did all this on our own dime. We didn't get any money from any of these cities to do any of these testings. We just wanted to show them how bad the problem was. And then we wanted to come up with a better solution. And this is a perfect visual aid of what we talked about earlier. You see how red that
Right.
material is? That's a direct indicator of how bad the hydrogen sulfide is when it turns cast iron bright red like that. I can almost guarantee you that manhole cover is seized up, but to know that it's truly seized up, look at all the concrete. Like, you know that they had to try to break it off. And so they just destroyed and damaged all the concrete just to open it. It's your access way into the sewer system. So like opening your car door is pretty important, right?
Right.
Opening the door to your house is pretty important. I mean, these are the sewer cover is the doorway into the sewer system. And if you can't open it, you're going to have some problems. And then here's just a checklist of the economics and the cost breakdown. Like when you get all this flooding into your sewer collection system and you're storing up all this rainwater as capacity, you have electrical pumping costs. You have backups and vacuum trucks going out there. You got fines from the EPA or from the state. You have the chemical costs at the plants. You have private damage costs from backups, safety liability costs, and the environmental impact and the health impact. The health part is not even a quantitative number at this point because nobody has any data on how bad the health hazard is of having toxic discharges throughout your living environment. So this is kind of a recap and a presentation. And again, the leaking, we refer to that as the bleeding.
Right.
You have a dying patient that you got to save a major organ, but you can't save a major organ if the patient dies of bleeding. I know that these systems need major organ repairs here and there, but their biggest problem right now is the leaking. And if you don't stop the bleeding, then you won't save the patient. So we talk about a lot of things in here that contribute to the SSOs, and we don't just talk about the problems. As you very well can see, we analyzed all the problems to build solutions for the problems along the way. So this is more of like showing the issue up front that we talked about really in episode 1, and then what we can do now is more so what this episode is the key on is now. Let's talk about some of the technology that we
help
can
us
now
solve the problem. Right.
Yes. So let me pull up. Okay. So we'll. So the technology for the monitoring, this is amazing. This is
the thing that I really want to focus some time on, because I think a lot of folks who might be tuning in are not aware of this new technology for monitoring being connected just to a simple manhole cover and what it can economically deliver them in the way of analysis and information so that they can make educated decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the unintended consequences, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So this is a company that we're traveling with our manhole cover, that the problem with cast iron in data transfer is that data cannot, to try to go through like a solid cast iron piece of metal, trying to get a signal to go broadcast through cast iron, it has a very hard time if it won't do it at all, because the cast iron blocks any kind of wireless signal. So any of the devices that we put underground, they have to transmit data to the cloud. Now, if they cannot transmit through that kind of material, then it renders it ineffective. And so what they've been trying to do is a workaround to work around the problem, which the problem is the actual manhole cover material in the cast iron. So what they do is they'll mount antennas on the exterior of a manhole. But let me tell you this much. What do you think happens in the public domain when you put external antennas on the ground or next to a manhole or anything like that? I mean, anything and everything from a kid to a car to anything, they're going to run and destroy these antennas, rendering this technology a big waste of time and a big waste of money. So when we reached out to, it's a Hebrew name. It's Ayaka. It's kind of funny because it's not funny, but I'm like, what? How in the world do you come up with this name? It's pretty random. But these guys are actually out of Jerusalem, and they're trying to solve global problems with flow monitoring and sanitary sewer SSOs, just like we are in our own country. And so when I met with Ayaka, they had the same mindset as me, is that they used to take these devices and install them on the wall. Okay, but the problem is, if you install it on the wall and later on they find out that all those devices have to come back off the wall because those old concrete manholes have to be relined or rehabbed or whatever. Now you got to uninstall all that equipment all over again and reinstall it. And the cast iron manhole covers that they were dealing with, they couldn't broadcast through. So when they saw the unique design that we have with the super cover, we have a manhole cover on the very top, but we're the only manufacturer in the world that has a secondary safety dish, and it's a dual layer gasket. So you have a manhole cover, and when you pull the manhole cover off, you have a smaller safety dish so that a man can't just walk off and fall in the hole once you take the manhole cover off. Well, that safety dish is very lightweight, and that safety dish, you can mount their device to the bottom of our secondary dish, so that basically you can mount it directly to our manhole, so you don't have to ever mount it to the walls of the manhole and ever have to pull it off again. And so if you took their device and you just mounted to the other underside of any standard or composite manhole cover, when they go to take the manhole cover off and they slide it, they would damage the device, because some people don't know that device is mounted to the underside of that manhole cover, and you got $1,000 worth of manhole device equipment. You don't want somebody just grabbing the manhole cover and sliding it and then damaging all the equipment. So our product, again, has that secondary. Let me see if I can show you a visual of it.
That would be great. And then what I'd like to know with this is then what type of data is this collecting to help with management? I remember you were saying, while you're pulling that up, you were saying that it can actually take an initial benchmark of where it is, where it's okay, so you know your starting point, and then start monitoring the level.
So what do you see on your screen right now?
I see the manhole cover.
Okay,
Oh,
so you see that?
I see the tray lid now under there. I see the inner dish. And so for
Yeah,
those
so
of
that
you who aren't watching, there's a lid and then an inner dish right below that. And then that sits just above where the ring would be on the manhole. So it makes sense that that would be an absolutely perfect place to put a monitor. So
no,
yeah, let's focus on that monitor because I'd really like to know, as we were talking about, because that was the whole thing that, you know, we want to let people know is
absolutely.
as oh, that's a great name. They call it field asset intelligence. And
Yeah.
so what does this deliver to the asset owner in regards of data? And how many of these things do they need in their system on a manhole cover in order for them to really get enough data for accurate decisions?
So the more units you put in the system, the more high level accuracy and the level of accuracy that the owners think they need or want. That's very subjective up to
Okay.
those to the owners. So the you could put one, or you could put thousands of these in your system. In my opinion, if you want to be able to track and you already kind of know your system a little bit, if you already know your system very well and you have maintenance and operations people, they'll know strategic places where they absolutely want to put these, and then they can come up with the secondary places that where they want to put them. But I would say, 20, anywhere from 15 to 25% of the sewer system,
Okay.
based on the numbers of manholes, you can get a very accurate depiction of what is or isn't happening in your sewer system. And so Ayaka not only has the devices, but they also have, as you can see on the screen, they have a GIS user dashboard that can, you got a brain, you have a brain that's got a SIM card in it like a cell phone. And so that brain is the central hub to take information in, and then it sends it out through the brain to the cloud. Then from the cloud, it goes into a user base dashboard that you give a login to any owner. They can log into that. They can see whatever data that they want that brain to send out. So you have the brain, but you can connect as many devices to the brain that capture monitoring that you want. So if you want hydrogen sulfide, if that's important to you, if you want to know the temperature inside your sewer system, you can do that. But the most important thing, in my opinion, is the level, the flow monitoring level of, real simple. Like when you come to a red light, or a red light, you got green, yellow, and you got red. And so for each asset that shows up on that map for manhole, you can get a green, normal flow conditions. Yellow is elevated to like a mid level, and then high is a high level in red. And so you have all these little dots on your screen. Now, on the south side of your system, everything might be red over there, and you're like, why is all that red? Well, maybe you just had a rain event and it only rained in that area. Like in Houston's like 60 miles in diameter. I mean, it's massive. So just because it says it's going to rain in Houston, it might rain over here, but it might not rain over here. But if you can't track at the very beginning where all your quote unquote hot spots are for SSOs, then you can't figure out where you want to attack. It gives you a baseline of the area that you want to attack first, and
Right.
then once you attack that area and you do SSO INI upgrades in that specific strategic area, you're going to see things go from red during a rain event to hopefully to a yellow or a green. And you can record annually how many times that manhole cover hit a red mark every year. And then you can record the following year if it hit a yellow or a green every year. And then you can compare the two datas because you have a baseline data set from the day that you put it in. And now you've got a reoccurring data set. So smart cities are going to end up having these monitoring gauging systems in their system indefinitely, not just for a period of time, but indefinitely, because it's very simple like this. Do you drive your car until you just run out of gas, or do you look at the gauge?
Well, that's a great analogy.
Nobody's gonna, you got to change your oil, you got to put gas in your vehicle, and you have gauges and you have monitors to track high, medium, low, or nothing. And do we, in any industry, is it ever cost prohibitive to be reactive versus proactive?
Absolutely. Preaching
These
to
are,
the choir, preaching to the choir here on that
yeah,
one.
I mean,
We need to get into a proactive state, because at the end of the day, if you're proactive, it's going to cost you less when there is a problem, or you may not even have a problem at all because you stayed that much more ahead of it.
if I have a vacuum truck on site, that means that I've got probably somebody calling in saying they got sewer overflows and backups. At that point, it's already reactive. It's going to cost you so much more than if you knew it was at a medium breach. If you knew it was at a medium breach in a certain area, not at normal, but at a medium breach or a medium to high, you could already be dispatching somebody to go take proactive approach, because once it overflows and gets out of the system, you're recording a sanitary sewer overflow. If there's any damage, and if it happens on somebody's property, at their house, their home, or whatever, if they file a lawsuit, you got all these incurred costs that are extremely reactive. But again, the sewer infrastructure in the United States is a multi-billion-dollar needed asset that we have, and to have no information on what's happening inside that toxic sewer environment and not have any data of knowing what's going on, to me, that is extremely ill-advised. Knowing that we have, in 2022, we have access to these types of things, and it's not just a matter of just the environmental part. It's the fact that these types of things automatically start paying for themselves, because if you understand what reactive costs are versus proactive costs, and you do the math, you'll find out that being proactive is usually it's a 5 to a 10 factor ratio is typically what it is. And I don't know how you really manage a sewer collection system without having this data. The only way that you're managing it is when it breaches out of the sewer system and it's already too late.
Eric, what is this insights map that we are looking at on the screen right now?
Insights map. I know it's one of the tools.
Within it. Okay.
Yeah. I'd have to go into it a little bit deeper, but
Right.
I think
That's okay. But for those who are cut. Editor, can you cut that? We're gonna have to slice that out. We had a set malfunction on the recording. Let's go back and he can splice that in again. We're just gonna cut that and make a good. So Eric, it seems like there's a lot going on under the hood with just this technology as well as their software. So if there are people that are interested in this or learning more, they can reach out to you and you can give them an online demo and take them kind of through the dashboard on what type of data that this can provide them and how all the system works. Because I'm sure that what you were saying earlier is determining the best placements for these would be critical to get the best type of data. Because it would be an investment, but I like that idea of, technology has come so far in that now, we've had CCTV and we compile that data. We have GIS and we compile that data. But now something like this is actually giving us real-time data.
Yeah.
As an event is happening. And how much more effective is that going to make us as professionals to to be ahead of the curve, to see something happening or headed that way before it becomes a disaster. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And I just love it because we're becoming this global community of here, you're making a manhole cover. Okay. And here's a company with technology in Israel. And because of the power of the World Wide Web, we're finding a way, and LinkedIn, God bless LinkedIn. That's why you and I are here, that we're actually finding ways to collaborate and create solutions and use technology in ways that probably we never, ever dreamed possible. I'm sure that when they developed this, they weren't thinking, oh man, this would be cool, bolted onto the bottom lid of a manhole cover. It probably never even entered their mind, but here we are, and it's working, and it's delivering a really cool solution. And so I would challenge those who are listening. I think we need to get out of our comfort zone and not be afraid to use the power of the digital world to reach out and connect with each other and work together for solutions. That the solutions may be out there. Maybe it was developed for something else, but wouldn't it be cool if something that's developed for something else could be adapted to help solve some of our biggest pain points, not just here in the United States, but everywhere, because we are a vital utility. We're not often thought about. We're out of sight, out of mind. And people say to me, and it's where I got the name for the show, is that it's an old thing in the condo, ooh, smells like money to me, is that many of my girlfriends will look and say, oh, Suzanne, how do you do that? And I'll say, smells like money to me. And they laugh and they think I'm gross, but the people who work in this industry and bring these technologies to light and to the forefront, we do important work every day, every single day. And so let's just keep fighting the good fight and looking for those solutions, looking for some of these things like, we've brought to light today. So again, reach out to Eric on his website, which was Texas Infratech.com, right? But he said earlier in the other episode, find him on LinkedIn. That's how I found him. That's the best way to connect with him, is on LinkedIn, Eric DuPre. He is a very gracious individual, and I can tell, and you can probably tell from these episodes, Eric likes to share his knowledge because it's all for the betterment of our industry. And if he can help someone do it better, that's what we're all here to do, and sharing knowledge. And just, again, thank you for sharing all of the knowledge and all of these new things that are available for us for maintaining systems. And even though you work in Texas, I just see that you're bringing something to the market that I think can be used everywhere.
It's at this point in time, the manhole covers, they're already national. We're in at least 6 to 8 states.
Oh, that's great.
5,000 units installed in the last 5 units. So it's no longer a concept. It's a utilized product. And one of the most important things that I would say in this whole thing is that before you want to tell me how much you know, you need to show me how much you care. And I don't do this. I don't do what I do just because I know it, or I'm good at it, or it makes money. It can do all those things. But the thing is that I have 2 young daughters. A lot of people have family, have kids, and there's a future that will exist at another later date. So all the decisions that we make today, literally today, will impact the future. And so absolutely, I'm trying to make our industry as good and as healthy for the future, for my kids and other people's kids. And when I'm old and I can't function anymore, do these things, that if I was able to make a good, strong impact now, these are battles that I won't have to fight when I'm old and don't have the energy to fight those battles, or see my own kids struggle with things that we claim to be unaware of or uneducated. And so you having me come on here and us discuss these things, we're going to educate a lot of people and help people, environmentally, with health and collectively with money. When you have a solution that can do all three of those things, you really have a complete solution.
Well, Eric, I just, thank you for all of your time and really helping me, meet my mission for this podcast, which was, to deliver industry know-how from industry pros who know how. And you are definitely one of those industry pros who knows how. And so again, thank you. And for those of you who have been tuning in, thank you for taking this journey with us today and learning more about smart city initiatives and the new technology that we can use in manhole covers to really help us run our cities better. And until next time, thank you again for joining us and keep it flowing. Thanks so much for joining me, the DooDoo Diva, on this week's episode of Smells Like Money. What stood out to you this week? Share your takeaways by leaving me a review. You can find out more about the new technologies, creating sustainable solutions, and insights on how to succeed in our vital industry by subscribing to the show. Whether you want to learn about the latest trends in wastewater infrastructure, treatment, or trenchless, you've got it all right here at Smells Like Money. If you're an industry expert and would like to be considered as a guest for the show, book a quick chat with me by visiting calendly.com/the2it group/B-A-podcast-guest, or simply click the link in the show notes below. Until next week, a big shout out to all my industry friends and those who will be. You are my superheroes. Thanks for tuning in, keeping it flowing, and we'll see you all next week.